Hi, my love. Today, we're talking about a topic that might be on your mind, especially at this time of the year, and that is how to handle summer body anxiety without spiraling back into dieting. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm just so grateful that you're here, and we're going to go right into this topic because I have a lot to say, and I know that this might be on your mind. And I know that because this topic and this question actually got brought up inside Food Freedom Academy. And it's all around, we know what's coming up, summer. And along with summer comes diet culture. Like diet culture, I mean, it never really goes away. Let's be honest. It always manages to creep back in, but the summer can be particularly difficult because the weather is getting warmer. And now it's like, okay, maybe you're thinking of putting on your summer wardrobe. Maybe some of it is feeling tight. Maybe you don't really have any clothes that makes you feel good. Maybe you don't like wearing shorts or dresses or, clothing that shows off certain parts of your body. Then there's also the heat and the discomfort that comes along with that. The chafing, the sweating, the feeling tired, and not to mention the bathing suits, right? So like all of that together creates this like perfect recipe of body anxiety. So I really wanted to do this episode right. I sat down with it. I really thought about what do you need to hear? What's going to be helpful? Because the reality is, and I'm never going to deny this, is that I do live in a straight-sized body, right? And so I don't want to pretend that I know your experience. I don't want to pretend that I've been in your shoes. I have, of course, struggled with body image and I've struggled with body dysmorphia. And this is what you learn the more you do this work, is that it happens in all kinds of bodies. But I do want to say that up front, is that I don't want to discredit or to invalidate your experience, because I get it, right? Like people are judgmental, and I used to feel this way going into the summer, especially if I didn't have any clothes that I thought fit or that I felt good in. I felt a lot of anxiety around that. So let's get right into it. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the way that our brains are wired. Of course, Sab is coming in hot with the brain info, because the thing is that although I may have not had the same lived experience as you've had in your body, our brains are all wired the same as human beings. So the first thing to know is that our brains tend to romanticize the past and catastrophize the future. So what I mean by that is that right now there's a good chance that you are feeling this urge to go back on a diet. Maybe you've been really focusing on healing your relationship with food, on eating intuitively, working with your body, listening to your body, not putting any foods off limits. Maybe you've been really proud of that. But maybe your body hasn't changed. Maybe you haven't lost weight in the way that you hoped you would. Or maybe you've gained weight on this journey to intuitive eating, because that can happen, right? I actually had to gain weight to get to my set point weight. And some people need to gain weight. Some people stay the same weight. Some people lose weight. It really depends on your body and your starting point and your history. So maybe you've been right on this journey to healing your relationship with food, and now you're feeling this anxious pull towards restricting. And the first thing, actually, I said the first thing before, but I'm saying the first thing now, okay? Because this is actually what I first want to say, is that it's normal that you're feeling this pull towards restricting and dieting, because your brain and your pathways, your mental pathways, have been established towards that. So it's probably not the first time that summer rolls around and you think, time to diet, time to restrict, time to start cutting back. You've probably practiced this pattern years and years and years, maybe even decades of summer rolls around, it's time to start restricting, it's time to start cutting back. And so this is a mental pathway that's established, like physically established in your brain. So if you imagine this like path in the forest, so you've got path A and path B. Path A has been walked multiple times. And so it's very clear. It's really easy to walk through. Whereas path B hasn't been walked. So it's outgrown. It's not easy to walk through. It's pretty uncomfortable. You're going to go through path A because it's the one that's been walked on the most. It's the easiest one to walk through. So it's the same in your mind. Pathway A is the one you're used to, which is when summer rolls around, I go on a diet. It's the one that you're drawn to on autopilot. Versus path B, which is a new path. Summer's rolling around and maybe I don't feel confident or comfortable in my body in the way that I would like to. And I'm going to continue the path I'm on because this is the path that aligns with the long-term vision that I have for my life. Now that path B has not been traveled. It hasn't been practiced. And so if you're having a hard time getting yourself on board with that path, that's normal, right? And so I'm going to help you walk that path B. I'm going to help you get comfortable with that path B. But in order to do so, it's not just kind of like willpowering your way, talking your way into thinking like, no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to diet. Because then you're stressing yourself out more because you're having an argument with yourself. And then you're creating all of this resistance. So let's talk about romanticizing the past and catastrophizing the future. So when you think about the past and you think about the times that have dieted in the past, oftentimes what we do is we think about just the good parts, or we even distort our past. And so you might be thinking about those times in the past when summer rolled around and you started cutting back and restricting as really like through these rose-colored lenses of you started restricting and dieting, then you lost weight, then you fit in your clothes, then you felt comfortable and confident throughout the summer, and all was well, right? And that is usually how we think about our past diets. It worked until I couldn't do it anymore, right? It worked, but we don't think about the fact that I was obsessed with food the entire time. I couldn't think about anything else. I was anxious. I felt guilty. I wasn't allowed to eat the foods that I love. I stopped going out to restaurants. I felt bad about my body. It was never enough. I would step on the scale and I still felt like I needed to lose more weight. I didn't actually feel that comfortable or that confident. It affected my relationships, it affected my self-esteem. None of that we think about. We just think it worked. I lost the weight. We even forget about the fact that we gain the weight back because our brains, once it has a belief, once it has this idea, it will do anything in its power to prove this belief. So if our belief is once summer rolls around, I go on a diet, I lose weight, I feel better about myself, it will distort and delete any information from the past or even the present that doesn't align with this belief. So let's actually talk through the options here. What we have to do is when we find ourselves romanticizing the past or letting out certain details, and I just want to say that I've done this too. Like I do this too, and I have to catch myself. We actually have to update that information and talk ourselves through the reality of our options. So we're going to start with the options that include dieting in this summer 2025. So option one is you go on a diet and you start restricting, you start cutting back, and you don't actually lose weight. That is an option. Maybe you go on the diet, but you find yourself constantly binge eating, overeating, really struggling with cravings, and just because the more you diet, the harder it becomes to stay on the diet. So maybe you tell yourself you're going to restrict, but now at this point, your mind and your body has rebelled. It is fighting back against famine and starvation. So now you're constantly fighting yourself between trying to be good and restrict and then binge eating at night. So that's option one, is that you might go on a diet and not lose the weight and not feel more confident or more comfortable in your body. And you're actually going to struggle even more with food because now you're telling yourself that there's all of these foods that you can't have, that you shouldn't have, and your relationship with food gets even worse this summer. And then you go to summer barbecues, you go to parties, and you're technically on this diet, but you're still struggling with your confidence and your self-esteem and your body image. So that is one of the possibilities that could happen. The second possibility is that you go on the diet and you do lose the weight for the summer. So you start restricting, you start cutting back, and you notice that, okay, the weight is coming off, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. I'm sure that for some of you, this has happened before, where you've gone on a diet for the summer, and even though you were losing the weight, you still didn't feel good about yourself. Because again, this is a belief that has been drilled into our minds by diet culture that when you lose weight, you will inevitably feel better about yourself. And then we lose the weight and we don't feel better about ourselves. And so we constantly have to challenge these beliefs and these ideas that have been conditioned and drilled into our mind. So that is a possibility, that you go on the diet and you do lose some weight, but you don't feel like it's enough. And you also have to keep in mind of the, how should I say this, the consequences and the side effects of dieting, especially in the summer, where you want to be having fun. You want to be going to barbecues. You want to be going swimming, on spontaneous ice cream dates with your kids, and just enjoying the warm weather. And no matter what, putting restrictions on yourself and dieting will create a burden. It will put a damper on that, because maybe you're not going to allow yourself to fully enjoy those activities. Maybe it's going to be, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm on a diet. So there's going to be a trade-off. And that's option two, is that you go on the diet, you lose some weight, but you still don't feel like it's enough. And it creates this unhealthy and not very pleasant relationship with food that doesn't allow you to fully enjoy the summer. And not to mention that chances are you gain the weight back after the summer once you've gone off the diet, because diets, it's very, very difficult to sustain. And so typically what I see as a pattern is people go on a diet for the summer, and then once the kids go back to school, then it's like, okay, now I can relax. I can put the leggings back on, and then you get diet backlash. So you start eating more and more. Those previously off limit foods start creeping back in. The weight starts creeping back on. And then before you know it, you've gained the weight back. And then 2/3 of dieters gain back more weight than they've originally lost. So you risk you risk just gaining the weight back. And then possibility number 3 is that you go on the diet, you do lose the weight, and you actually do feel better about yourself. You feel more comfortable, you feel more confident, but even with that, your relationship with food will suffer, because now every thought, every decision is going to be laced by fear and anxiety that you're going to gain the weight back. So it's going to be this like intense control of everything, because now your self-esteem and your confidence is on the line, because your self-esteem is now tied to how your body looks. Because if you only feel confident and good about yourself when you lose the weight, well, now if there's this risk of gaining the weight back and we associate that with eating, then it's probably going to fuel restrictive eating even more. And I don't need to tell you what happens when we are fueling restrictive eating. It impacts everything. This is the same as in possibility number 2. It's hard to go on a spontaneous ice cream date or to the BBQs and going out to eat and being spontaneous and feeling free and feeling at peace. All of those emotions that we want to be feeling in the summer. So those are the possibilities that are there for you when it comes to dieting this summer. And I really encourage you to really sit down with it and walk yourself through your past experiences dieting in the summer. How did it feel at the time, right? How did it affect you? How did you feel about yourself? What happened after the summer? Like, instead of looking at it through these rose-colored glasses, look at it through reality glasses. How was it for you? How did it impact all these different areas of your life? Now, the second piece is the catastrophizing the future. So when it comes to the way that you are currently thinking about how this summer is going to go, what I like to do with my clients, and it sounds so counterintuitive, but it works. And I do this for myself, and there's a reason why it works. And it's to bring awareness to the worst case scenario that your brain has created. So imagine that you continue on this journey to being an intuitive eater, to healing your relationship with food, connecting with your body, healing the way that you think and feel around food. You're just continuing down this path. What is the worst case scenario that your brain has created about how this summer is going to go? Because chances are it might be, I'm going to gain weight, or I'm going to keep looking the way that I am, and then I'm going to not fit in any of my clothes. I'm not going to be able to be in a bathing suit, have fun. I'm going to be hot and sweaty and uncomfortable all the time. Everyone's going to look at me. Like, our brains can go to really, really dark places. And the reason why this works to pay attention and bring awareness to the worst case scenario is because oftentimes, I'm not saying always, but oftentimes the worst case scenario is really exaggerated in our minds. And even to the point that it's not based in reality. Like, I've done this with my clients. I've done this with my friends. I've done this. I love coaching people. I love helping people. Sometimes I have to hold myself back because I'm like, this is not the place, Sab. But I love doing this because once we pay attention to where our brains are taking us and the stories that they are creating, we sometimes see, oh, this is really catastrophizing a not very likely possibility. So I recommend that you write down what is the worst case scenario that I've created in my mind of if I continue to just focus on my relationship with food. Because oftentimes, like I said, that's not actually how your summer is going to go. And then the next thing you want to look at is what is the best case scenario? Like, let's say you continue on this path, focusing on your relationship with food, focusing on eating intuitively. What is the best case scenario? Well, now you're asking your brain to think a different way. So now you might see yourself going to the barbecue and seeing all these options there. Because in the worst case scenario, maybe you're going to the barbecue and you're eating everything because you're not on a diet, quote unquote diet. And in the past, you would just go and have like 14 plates. So maybe that's your worst case scenario. Best case scenario, like the way that I experience barbecues, is I don't feel any anxiety. I don't feel any fear. I'm actually always very excited to go. But food is not like at the top of my mind. I'm just like, I'm excited to see people. I'm excited to just have fun. And food is going to be there. And then you get there and you're able to see all these different options, the barbecue, the hot dog, the hamburgers, the pasta salad, the veggies, the fruits. And in the best case scenario, you ask yourself, what do I really feel like eating? And maybe it's a hamburger with a side of salad and maybe a little bit of fruit. And you have the foods that you want to eat and you stop when you're full and you're able to have like a little bit of the dessert. But again, you don't overdo it. You walk away from the barbecue feeling great physically, feeling great mentally. You were able to just focus on being present and being with the people that you love, and the food wasn't the center of your attention. And maybe even in this best case scenario, you stopped caring about what other people think of you. You stopped giving so much weight to other people's opinion, giving more weight to other people's opinion than your own. And maybe you gave yourself permission to put the bathing suit on and to get in the pool and to make amazing memories with your kids, to take the pictures. Maybe in this best case scenario, as your habits are getting healthier and more intuitive and more natural and more easy to stick to, you start feeling better in your body and more confident. And it doesn't even require you to lose weight. Maybe you do lose weight. Maybe your body is meant to release the weight and it happens because you're doing it in a way that works with your body instead of against it. So really get clear on what is your best case scenario. How many of us actually do this? Not a lot, right? Because we're so focused. It's a protection mechanism to focus on the worst case scenario. But I want you to think about what is the best case scenario of how this summer could go if I just continued focusing on my relationship with food instead of going back to dieting. And then a little bonus point is, what is the most likely scenario? So now you've paid attention to the worst case scenario. Now you've paid attention to the best case scenario. What is the most likely scenario? Knowing everything that you know about intuitive eating, about dieting, about your relationship with food, about healthy habits, what is the most likely scenario? Because now you're going to have a clearer picture. You're not going to be making decisions based off of fear and anxiety and letting that emotional part of your brain hijack your decision making. Because when that emotional part of your brain does do the hijacking, you're going to go back to those old patterns that feel safe, that feel familiar, even if they didn't serve you, even if they made you worse off. And again, you can alleviate some of that fear and that anxiety by showing your brain what the future is actually likely to look like. Because again, our brains don't like uncertainty. And if you've never gone through the summer without dieting or like trying to change your body, then you don't even know what that looks like. So you're like sending yourself into this void without any preparation or anticipation of what it might be like. So when you do this exercise of worst case, best case, most likely scenario, you're giving your brain some of that, I guess, mental picture and certainty, even though the future is anything but certain. And now I want to talk about a different aspect of this, which is the discomfort. So the thoughts that might be running through your mind around, I feel super sweaty, my clothes feel really uncomfortable, I start to chafe, and then I get mad at myself. Because I think if I wasn't so big, if I wasn't in this large body, I wouldn't feel that way. And what often happens is that our bodies become the scapegoat for discomfort. When we're feeling uncomfortable, we ask ourselves, who do I have to blame for this? And then we blame ourselves. We blame ourselves for letting our bodies get that way. So if I'm feeling uncomfortable, if my clothes is feeling tight, if I'm sweating, if I'm chafing, then it's my fault because my body is this size. But the truth is, and this is where I get to bring in my experience living in a currently straight size body, but having lived in an underweight body and also having lived in a overweight body for my set point weight, I've experienced all of those things in all of those bodies. I've experienced the chafing. I've experienced the discomfort in my clothes. I've experienced the stretch marks, the cellulite, and all of those things. And so that's what I was explaining to my client as well, is that we often blame our bodies for doing that, but you could lose the weight and still be experiencing that same level of discomfort. So when we talk about tangible things to do for the summer, I always, when I think of my summer clothing, I always have comfort as the number one priority. And I encourage you to do the same. So when I'm buying something, I know the kind of material that's going to make me feel sweaty. I know the kind of material that's going to rub against my skin in the wrong way and make me feel very uncomfortable, make me feel very unconfident, because when we don't feel good in our clothes, we just don't really feel good. And so I avoid that. And I maybe wear those shorts that are a little bit tighter on those cooler days. But I'm always thinking, how do I buy loose material? How do I buy thin material? Things that are going to help me move, that are not going to be super tight on my skin. So if you're feeling anxious about the summer and you want to feel good in your body, I'm not saying you have to go out and have a like $300 shopping spree. I went to, I don't know if you guys have that in the States. I have some people on this podcast who listen in the United States. I'm in Canada, but we have this place called Winners, and it has like all, I don't know that you could call it designer brands, but it's like more high-end clothing that is on a discount. And I love not spending a fortune on my clothes. Like I love thrift shopping, secondhand clothing. So there's a lot of great opportunities to go and just buy a few staple things that are going to feel comfortable and that you're going to feel confident in. I remember a couple of summers ago, I was going into the summer and I had no shorts that I felt good in. They were all older shorts that were really tight or really short. And like, I was feeling some of that anxiety going into the summer because I was like, what am I going to wear? So I decided to go shopping, and I think I had bought like 2 or 3 pairs of shorts with the general idea of, I want to be able to wear these shorts on a good body image day and on a not so good body image day. So what I mean is sometimes I'm bloated. Sometimes I don't feel so good. no matter where we're at in our body image journey, we're all going to have those days. I don't make them mean anything anymore. Now I'm just like, oh, today is a bad body image day. That's okay. And I wanted to be able to wear those jeans on any type of day. So I'm not buying those shorts that are going to be super tight around my waist that don't allow for any movement. I'm not going to buy shorts that ride up my ass and make me feel like I can't sit down properly. I'm going to buy shorts that are versatile, that are longer, that allow for movement. And sometimes just having like 2 or 3 stable pieces can really ease some of that anxiety and that fear that we feel. And for you, it might be a dress or it might be a skirt. I actually love wearing dresses in the summer because it's loose and you can move around. And another thing that I want to say is what can help is practicing wearing that clothing that maybe show off your legs or show off your arms. If you don't feel good about those parts of your body and you don't feel ready to go out in public and around people showing those parts of your body, just practice wearing it around at home, wearing it around your family, wearing it around people that you feel safe and comfortable with. Think of it as exposure therapy, just getting comfortable with showing those parts of your body. And also, I'm going to say this as a reminder, and I know that you've heard this before, but sometimes we just need the reminder over and over again that people aren't thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. Most people are thinking about themselves. So asking yourself the question, how can I bring more comfort, bring more safety into how I feel in my body this summer? And the last part of this episode that I want to talk about is around vision. So what I mean by that is when you are getting into that thought spiral of summer's rolling around and I'm going to have to wear clothes that's more revealing, or I want to put on a bathing suit and feel good about myself. I want to enjoy things. I want to feel good, all of that. Asking yourself the question and journaling on it. I love getting DMs from you guys letting me know that you actually take the journal prompts that I recommend and you actually journal on it. That means so much to me because it shows me that you're an action taker and that you are truly committed to doing the work to healing this. So the journal prompt would be, how do I want to remember this summer? Or in another way to phrase it is, how will I want to remember this summer? When you are 70 years old, 80 years old, think about that future self. What will I want to remember about the summer? And just really get clear on that. When I'm older and I can't go back in time and people's opinions don't matter as much because I realize that they come and go in your life, and that the only thing that's a constant is you. So your opinion is the thing that matters the most. What will I want to remember? And maybe it's going to be, I'm going to want to remember going swimming with my kids. I'm going to want to remember going to the summer barbecue and laughing my ass off with my friends. I'm going to want to remember going to my kids' soccer game and having some popsicles after. I don't know. I'm just throwing some things out there, but what makes your summer memorable? What makes your summer special and unique? And chances are, when you answer the question, what makes my summer memorable? It's probably not going to be weighing X pounds or not allowing myself to eat carbs or being on a diet. So when you reflect on these questions, what it does is it gets you really clear on what you value the most. And this is what we talk about when we say a value-based life, is that your actions align with your top values. And when you feel disconnected, when you feel out of alignment, when you feel unfulfilled, it's often because your actions don't align with your top values. So taking the time to get clear on what's important to me, what are my values, what am I going to want to remember, and then that's going to pave the way for the actions you need to take. And once you get clear on what that vision is, this is the tough part. This is the tricky thing. Are you giving yourself permission to live that vision regardless of what your body looks? I'm going to say that again. Are you giving yourself permission to enjoy your summer, to do the things that you want to do, to go swimming, to go to the barbecue, to have fun, to relax, even if you don't lose weight, even if you stay in your current body? Because the thing is that we live in a society that makes us feel like we can't feel good about our bodies in our current bodies. We live in a society that makes us feel like we can't give ourselves permission to live our lives and to not want to lose weight. So can you give yourself permission to have fun, to enjoy your summer, to do the things that you want to do, even if your body doesn't change? And I want to make sure that I make this clear. This is all while doing things that make you feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? So if you're binging all summer and your habits don't make you feel good and you don't feel good in your body, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you continue to focus on health promoting behaviors, listening to your body, eating mindfully, being intentional about the choices that you make, slowing down, moving your body in ways that feel good, eating nourishing foods because you want to, not because you have to, all of those things that come with becoming an intuitive eater and healing your relationship with food. When you're doing all of that, and let's say your body doesn't change, can you give yourself permission to still enjoy your summer and do those things that you want to do? So those are all some things to reflect on. And I would love to know anything that comes up for you. Any but Sabrina or what if, like, I want to know more, because if I need to do a second episode, I will do a second episode. I will address whatever needs to be addressed so that you feel clear and you feel confident. I want you to enjoy the summer because I live in a place where we have winter half of the year, what it feels like, and it is cold and it is dark. And once summer rolls around, it's like a piece of me comes back to life. And I truly try to appreciate and enjoy every second of every day that I'm looking outside right now. We've got some green blooming. The sun is out. I'm going to go by the water after work to just spend some time outside. And I want you to be able to experience the same thing, to experience the joy and the peace and the freedom of enjoying your summer. So please, please send me a DM on Instagram if there's anything that comes up for you at Sabrina Magnan Health, or just follow along. If you don't follow me already, I would love to have you there, where I'm always posting stories and tips and advice and answering questions. And if you know someone in your life who might be thinking about this, who might be struggling with their body image going into the summer, and you think that they could benefit from this conversation, send it to them. The more people we have listening, the more people we have stepping into their power, living their authentic lives, the better we all are, right? Because powerful women make a powerful world. So I love you so much. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.